Alright, so this is obviously a really special night for all three of us, for everybody, and I just want to share some immense amount of gratitude with Bernie, Britt, Matt behind the camera, Danny. Love you guys so fucking much. I want to set an intention, and I want all of us to set an intention, and I want us all to share your gratitude. My intention is to stay present, to enjoy this moment, to smile, laugh, have as much fun as humanly possible, and just focus on the conversation. Stay right here. Keep looking at those eyes and just enjoy the fuck out of this.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my intention for tonight, and I fucking love you guys.
It was mid-July 2021. I'd been going through a lot. Uprooting trauma, a breakup, and honestly, constant questioning of, what am I really doing here? I found myself on a week-long solo journey in the beautiful mountains of Utah. As I reached the summit of Angel's Landing in Zion National Park, and after a long conversation with an optometrist from South Africa named Rob, he stated, "Nick, you ask really good questions. There's answers out in nature. There's answers when you quiet the mind. There's answers when you follow your heart. And even though it's taken me a while, my intuition is finally my guiding light. Everyone has a message. Everyone has a story. Everyone wants to share. So what is this podcast really all about? It's not a podcast. It's a movement.
I'ma be different, I'ma be different, yeah. I'ma be different, promise that I'll make a difference. I got the vision, and I'm gonna go out and get it. Know when I do, promise that I'll make a difference, yeah. I'ma be different, I'ma be different, yeah. I'ma be different, promise that I'll make a difference. Gotta be listening, promise to use every gift I've been given to go make a difference. That's what the life I've been given, promise that I'll make a difference, yeah. I've been riding through the city with the top down. Next up, we the hottest thing out now. Ain't nobody know yet, but you will. Young vet with a flow so red that you might drown. So go get your coats and umbrella Ellas. Spitting that raw color salmonella. Dropping these hits like I'm Rockefeller. Do the rest of the song like a cappella. Fuck all of the drama that y'all are pursuing. I don't got time, I got shit that I'm doing. It's crazy, these people who claiming they woke and gargle and choke on the venom they spewing. Watch the snakes in the grass when you pass going up. Haters mad that it can't fly. Come up from the bottom to the top.
My name is Niko, and I am the founder of Just Grow Podcast. So really where all this began was a breakup. I think it's really my first real breakup, real heartbreak. And it really just opened me up. It broke my heart open, which allowed me to really open up myself. And then subsequently, shortly after that, there was so much stuff going on. I think I was really experiencing some depression and anxiety for the first time in my life. And some people might say that was lucky, but I think it just truck sticked me. And because of that, it was really difficult to deal with. Nothing seemed to be going right in my life, except for the gym. And then that came crumbling down too. I was lifting heavy one day, decided to push it a little bit more, bench press. All of a sudden, last rep, last set, about to put it up, it falls right back on my chest, tore my pectoral tendon. And so it just seemed like everything was crashing on top of me. And I said to my mom, when it rains, it pours. I was literally expecting that. Whatever type of energy you put out is what comes directly back. And so I started asking myself deeper questions, trying to understand myself a little bit more and getting to the heart of the matter because something seemed off. I've been thinking about starting a podcast. I did a few little interviews here and there and I liked it, but it really came back to another breakup a couple of years later. And then I found myself again wanting to find myself a little bit more, ask deeper questions. Who am I? What's missing? What's going on with me? And so I decided to really explore myself a little bit more, and I took a trip to Utah by myself for a week. And that was the catalyst that made me start this podcast. You know, it was a great week. I was just chilling by myself all week long. May or may have not used
mind-altering substances.
and just really continue to open my mind even more, get out in nature. I was on top of Angel's Landing, which is in Zion National Park, and it was crazy because the whole week I was being very introspective, just me and my journal the whole week. Didn't even talk to a soul, really. I don't think so. And then that day I decided, I had strong intention to be a little bit more extroverted that day. I wanted to have some fun. I felt like that was enough of being just by myself. I wanted to have fun, go out there and talk with some people. I decided I just want to like say something to everybody I came across. And soon enough, I was having this deep level conversation with this optometrist from South Africa. His name was Rob. Really cool guy. I don't know if you've ever seen Blood Diamond.
This is Africa.
Leo DiCaprio, that was him right there. He was hiking in sandals. He had a walking stick, and he said something to me that just, it stuck, because I've been pondering on this podcast idea for a little bit, thinking maybe, maybe not. And he said, Nick, you ask really good questions. And I'm like, boom. A sign. If that wasn't a sign, I don't know what was. But I was like, right then and there, I was like, podcast. It's meant to be. And I'm sitting up there just looking at probably one of the most beautiful views I've ever seen. Feeling it a little bit. Getting a little wavy. And it came in clear as day. And I thought to myself, what do I do to make this different, unique, special? There's millions of podcasts. I think they even say there's like 3.5 million podcasts out now. Everyone's starting podcasts. What makes mine different? What is going to get people to actually pay attention too? So I just know everyone's got so much more of an ADD mindset these days. Like, how do you capture people's attention? And I always know that I love being around people in person. The energy, it's different as opposed to online. I think attention's very fragmented online as opposed to when you get in person. So I was like, it's my birthday coming up. I want to do something cool where I can incorporate a lot of people. The year prior, we just went on a boat, which was cool, but it can only fit so many people. And I knew my network was really expanding. So I was like, all right, podcast launch party, birthday edition. And I didn't know. I was like, is this going to work? I mean, are people going to show up? Like, what are going to be like, what is a podcast party? But I call Braxton. I'm like, dude, you think this is a good idea? He's like, that sounds sick, man. Let's do it. It was on a Tuesday. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I should probably send some messages, let people know. I put together a little flyer, shot a bunch of DMs, and, I think it was like 50, 60, maybe around there. Showed up and we just had a conversation for about 40 minutes. And then everyone stuck around, networked a little bit, and people seemed to like it. People really became drawn to it. And I would say even more than that, it was probably, if I have to say, one of the best nights of my life. I think I was still going through a lot, and it filled my cup up so much. And like you always, hear the adage of like, what would you do if you could do that the rest of your life, and you still would do it if you weren't making money? Hands down right there. Because all I've ever wanted to do is speak and help people. That's all I've ever wanted to do. That's whenever I visualize, that's what lights me up, gets me chills, sometimes even brings me to tears. And I secretly found this backwards way on how to do that. So then decided a couple months later, let's throw another one. My parents came in from out of town. People flew in from actually other countries. It's crazy. And there's more people there. I didn't even know what to expect at the next one. I was like, are people going to be like, okay, that was cool, but whatever. And there was more people. And it was interesting because I started getting in that mindset of oh, this has to be better, right? There has to be more people. But I was like, nah, fuck that. It's a win because I get to have an amazing conversation with an incredible human being, great friend. Shout out Bree Morrison. So it was just cool. We had a great conversation. I think a lot of people got a lot of value. A lot of people came up to us afterwards, just saying how great it was, how they're really grateful to be there and that energy with the people. And that's really what it's about. It's about the people. Like that's, like as much as I want to say like it's because of me or anything like that, it's about the people that are around. And it's the people that really connect to the message and the mission and the vision of this. Because without everybody else, this doesn't, like it's cool, I can have my conversations, but I was doing that years before, just going to have coffee, right? And who knows, maybe I would still be doing this, very likely, since it just fills my cup up so much. But that's what makes the events so special, I would say. And that's why it's gotten so much traction, is because of the fact that the events are really starting to track. Like people are taking notice. And so then, of course, we threw another one. That one was the biggest by far. Over 200 people at that. Got a little vulnerable, shared some traumas on both sides, Dylan and I. And it was powerful. It was a little nerve-wracking getting up there in front of 200 people and just sharing some insecurities. But I think it really helped a lot of people that night, whether that was just planting some seeds, giving some people some breakthroughs, understanding like they're not alone, that it's okay to speak up and share their story, just acknowledge their stuff, not feel like you're broken just because you've gone through some darkness. Because that's the reality, is that I think one of the biggest things in this whole journey that I've discovered when I'm diving deep into myself is that there's light and dark to the world. I used to think that, you know, stay positive, everything's good. Something rough happens, I'm good, don't worry about it. But now I'm like, it's part of life. Because I used to reject a lot of that. Where I was like, oh, I'm good, I'm not gonna share that. Why do we need to focus on that? Why don't we just move forward? But if I wasn't gonna tell that piece of my story of traumas when I was younger, that's like rejecting a piece of me. And to reject a piece of me is to reject me fully, is to reject life. If you reject a piece of life, a darkness of life, you're rejecting life as a whole. It's the whole concept of the yin and the yang. There's the light and the dark. I always say for every Hitler, there's a Gandhi, right? There's darkness and light, there's lightness and dark. I saw a post one time, the guy said, if you're lucky, you'll experience heartbreak, which I kind of like resisted. And I was like, is that accurate? Is that true? And I thought about it more, but I through the conversations I've had, specifically even with the podcast, like how many amazing stories, success stories of people creating such beautiful things have come specifically from a breakup. I remember one of the first people I paid attention to with the podcast, blew up like one of the bigger podcasts out there. It was all because of a breakup. I'm gonna prove that girl, you know? Kind of gives you a little edge. So I think I just started wanting to discover more of who I am. I feel like I wanted to believe that I had everything figured out and I don't need anybody's help. I'm good, everything's good. That was kind of my favorite phrase. I'm good. No, we're good. Everything's good. Sometimes things aren't good. But you only really get to know what is going on when you get to the heart of the matter, when you get to the reasons why. My favorite question is why. One of them. But it's like, why? Okay, this happened to you. What can we learn from that? Why did this happen? How can we gain perspective on this and not make mistakes moving forward and help other people learn from my mistakes? I can learn from other people's mistakes. And I think that's why it's so important to just consistently stay in the curious mindset and the learner's mindset rather than a judgmental standpoint. I think if there was far less judgment in this world would be a better place. And so I want to be that example to say, like, I'm not judging anybody for anything. I know we've all experienced some darkness, and let's have compassion for people on that. Know that we're all human, we're living the human experience, we're flawed humans, but just accept it. The podcast is so much more than a podcast. It's just a platform for people to share their stories and connect. There's been a handful of people that have shared stuff on the podcast that this is the first time they ever shared something like that. And they get into it. It's not my story. Go listen to the podcast. They go listen to their story. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a message. Everyone wants to share it. And you deserve to. Because that's what life is about, is creation, expression. Not feeling like you have to be confined and hold back because of some societal norms. think we're meant to create here, we're meant to express, we're meant to connect and be around people and just live this human experience. I was inspired by one specific documentary, and it's just really cool. I love storytelling. I've always been a fan of stories. I think everybody loves stories because this is like a cool way to express and share a message and relate to people. Everyone's had their story, everyone's had their struggles, but I think this is a way for me to share my story. You know, the podcast is obviously not about me. It's always about the other person. And I think that's important to give people a platform, but I think it's also important for people to like understand me a little bit more. I feel ever since I was young, I felt a little different than everybody. And whether that's true or not, I just always had that feeling. And even amongst my friends still, like I feel like I'm just a tad bit different. I don't even know how to fully explain that, but I just wanted to help people understand me a little bit more, know that I'm complex. And I think that's been a big realization for me recently, is that and being okay with it and accepting myself fully for being complex. But I think I also understood that maybe I'm not so different than everybody else. I just like have really dove into myself and found the complexities. I think until you really dive into yourself, you can't understand the fact that we are complex. We are complex human beings. And so I just want to share my side of things so people can connect to me more and understand that this isn't just about a podcast. I have a vision. I mean, the ultimate vision is to be in a stadium doing a podcast. 50,000, 100,000 people getting to hear my story and the guest story. But just to have like a really positive impact on the world, because I think the world needs it right now. And we get to really help a lot of people because, you know, that's all we're here together. We're all here together, just doing the best we can, figuring shit out. And so it's a lot better doing it with each other than alone, which I've tried to do for a long time. It's just like kind of do my own thing and being the lone wolf. Ow! But I just love being around people and I love connecting with people. And you know, the first podcast I really started paying attention to, it made me feel like I wasn't alone. Made me feel like I could relate to people, whether celebrities, athletes, whoever. We're all just humans. And I think this again comes back to the non-judgment thing of we're just all humans. No one's better or worse than anybody. We're just humans.